The globe has a history of money, whether or not it is backed by gold, where governments go into debt and devalue the currency. Thus, the Romans used to cut the edges off the coins so that there was less gold in each coin, and eventually people would discount the currency. They were afraid that if they mixed them with silver and then with copper, they would lose faith in them. Because the coins were meant to be worth the value of the item, they are useless. Our government can't do anything to aid us humans, we're just a bunch of scumbags. There is no doubt in my mind that humans are essentially flawed, and they always will be so. Consequently, we have the best of the best. It is well known that the United States and the United Kingdom maintain the highest possible standards of quality. Wars 1 and 2 had to be abandoned since we've accumulated too much debt once again. We've gone over the top with our financialization yet again because humans are averse to anything that doesn't give them leverage. One reason we adopt a new system is because of the influence and sex of the other. Fiat money, which has been around before and continues to be abandoned. Fiat money is not money. It is supported by the central bank's pledge to pay it, so that is the dollar's foundation. Everyone is familiar with fiat currency, which has now been accepted by all countries. When it comes to water, I handed you a bottle if you're truly thirsty. You'd pay me 10 times as much for that bottle of water if I sold it to you instead. The value of 1 million bottles of water is nil to you if I give them to you. That's why art, vehicles, and just about anything else has a higher market value when it's scarce. The fact that we cherish scarcity, for whatever reason, is why too much money is printed. As a result, you're creating less scarcity, which means there's money everywhere. That's why, after understanding this, you wonder what it means that the dollar hasn't plummeted. It's kind of where it was in the last 5 years or so versus the euro. Because your $50,000 salary can only purchase you a fraction of the number of shares in Apple that it used to, you say, huh? Amazon, Google, and Microsoft reality, I'm suddenly unable to purchase as many shares of the S&P 500 as before. Since 2008, I've only been able to afford about a third of what I could previously. Likewise, gold becomes more expensive, and you wonder why your assets suddenly became more expensive when they hadn't. You can't buy assets since the value of your savings or money has decreased. What exactly do you mean by? The future consumption of an asset is deferred to sell the property in the future when I buy a house. Whatever happens, I'll get to retire. We don't buy the S&P just so we can. The reason we buy anything is because we want to sell it at some point in the future and make money. As a result, our future selves will be poorer, which is basically what this means. As a result of currency devaluation, when Bitcoin appeared in 2008 during the height of the financial crisis, it was as though it had been meticulously planned for this exact scenario. I can devise an algorithm to limit the number of Bitcoins that can be created. As a result, this is a scarcity that humans are unable to fuck around with the resources that they now possess. The economic incentive to play about with scarcity is a major factor in this tendency. The only way for them to avoid this is to own this asset, so they're compelled to do so economically. There's a constant supply curve for it because it is so scarce and can't be modified. For this reason, there are only a finite number of Bitcoins in existence. Moreover, it would have the appearance of gold, in recognition of gold's long-standing historical usefulness as a store of value. It's a network, but gold isn't, and its technology. This is what makes Bitcoin different from gold. We know what gold isn't, so we have use cases and the advantages of developing a network so suddenly. The price rose dramatically in 2015, and suddenly the blockchain is being looked at. Imagine if these bits were recorded on the blockchain, which is where you save information. Having a stake in a cryptocurrency, it's Bitcoin itself. What would happen if we had a written agreement in place? Everything is effectively a contract in our legal system due to the fact that people are contract-based. What led to Ethereum's ascent was the ability to programmatically adjust terms. These are not the properties of the blockchain. You cannot erase anything from the blockchain ledger. Changing the small buckets, though, could result in a different appearance. Since such facts could be independently verified, they couldn't be altered. As a result, a theorem was established that served as a foundation for subsequent work. As a store of value, Bitcoin. You think about Ethereum when you think of this immaculate and beautiful thing. It's not only attractive, but it has a wide range of uses because it's programmable like an Arduino. There are two factors driving this movement: money and popularity. Information is becoming more accessible to everyone. Then there's crypto, which, as its ecosystem begins to take shape, you begin to realize. This is now the quickest adoption of any technology in all of documented human history. During the period from 1990 to 2000, the internet's growth rate was the quickest of any other technology. Prior to cell phones, the other technological innovation in recorded history was. These things can happen because of the internet and mobile phone technologies. There are still networks to be established, and it is much easier to build the next network after the first one is up and running. Since every Indian mobile phone now has access to free data, for example. Consequently, their internet scalability becomes constrained by their high data consumption, which is the greatest in the world. As we all know, the internet continues to grow in size at a rate of 63 per year. In 1997, the number of people who had been adopted had grown to 63, making it one of the fastest growing populations. The number of cryptocurrency users is expected to rise to 140 million by 2021 from the current 140 million. It has 113 million members and is expanding at a rate that is twice as fast as it is currently. This is where humans have a difficult time. The difference between linear and exponential growth as a result of the nature of exponential growth. Our population is expected to increase by 113 people per year, taking us from 140 million to a billion people by 2024. In other words, if you see anything getting embraced at this rate and it involves money networking, you should take notice. At its core, and because even a small portion of it is available for purchase, anyone can buy 10 times their current net worth. It will be a once-in-a-lifetime event for everybody who takes advantage of it. Start with a knowledge of money that most people don't give much thought to, and you'll get a sense of how the debt-ridden economy and central bank printing are screwing us off, and what that entails. You'll then point out that this is Bitcoin, and what is this Ethereum stuff all about? As you start to understand decentralized finance, you begin to see yourself as like. But it's good because I can now collect dividends from my investments, you know. I can now receive a credit on my bank account for my hard savings instead of 0.6% yearly growth. Wow, that's a big difference. It's like stepping back in time by 25 years. And then NFTs and community tokens arrive, and your mind is utterly blown that this is possible. This isn't just money, it's the internet's entire system for exchanging, transferring, and storing value. Businesses as we know them are set to undergo enormous upheaval as a result of the potential that this technology has. Afterwards, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't even keep this in my head any longer. As long as it's this big and I don't just buy some Bitcoin to make some money, I'll make some money. In fact, the financial and business structures of the United States and the United Kingdom are quite different. It is rapidly gaining traction around the world, and it has become an asset in its own right. Compared to all other assets, it's appreciated by a whopping 2 million% since its start. History has done this before, and we haven't even begun, so I still believe there is a way to achieve it. From here, it's 100 times as far. Even the baby boomers were unaware that the stock market index hadn't increased by a factor of 100 since 1980. I'm yelling from the rooftops because of the enormity of what's there, and this is why. Cynical you may believe that you lack the necessary knowledge or that you lack the financial resources to participate in this. However, you must pay attention as this is your one and only chance to make amends with me. We look back over the next 10 years and lament the fact that, as the rich got even richer, we were completely unaware of what had occurred. Everyone else is telling you that now is the time to be responsible with your money, so don't be reckless. Normal people do all the right things, but here is your chance to shine. This is the biggest. It is the best opportunity that I have ever come across, and so should everyone else. We've never had an opportunity like this before, and it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor.